Okay, so we just read the Grimm brothers story Snow White and Rose Red. You want to give us a summary and then we'll discuss it?
Yeah. So there's like this little family that lives in the forest, I think. And it's a mother with two daughters. And and the daughters are named Snow White and Snow Red.
Oh, Rose Red.
Snow White, yeah, Rose Red.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Snow White, she's more quiet and likes being indoors, while Rose Red is more active and enjoys being outside. And they're just both very close to each other. And yeah, and they like walk hand in hand a lot. Um, and then like one day during the winter time, a bear knocks on their door and they're scared, but the bear tells them that uh it means no harm and just wants to be let indoors to be more comfortable during the winter storm. So then they agreed to let the bear in and um yeah, they have a good time with the bear and they're playing with it. And it eventually becomes a daily routine for the bear to keep visiting.
Hmm.
Um,
And also,
and
when they
then,
play with it, they play with its fur and they roll it around, but sometimes they get too rough with it, and it says to be gentle with your lover. He like sings a little ditty. Children, children, let me live. Snow white, rosy red. Snowy white, rosy red. Will you beat your lover dead?
yeah, so after that, the bear,
Well, it's like the end of the winter, I guess. And he tells them
yeah,
why he's gonna leave.
yeah, it tells them it's going to leave and it's going to be gone for a while. Um,
Because he needs
so
to
yeah, he
guard
goes
his
away.
treasure from the dwarves.
hmm Um,
And as he is walking out the door, uh, like on the door lock or something, like some of his hair catches, and Snow White notices that, and she feels like she
Mhm.
sees underneath the hair there's like gold.
Mhm. So yeah, that happens, and then uh, one day their mom sends them to go get needles and thread from the town. So on the way to go do that, they meet a dwarf, and the dwarf has his beard stuck under a tree that fell because he was trying to get firewood. And the dwarf is just very impolite and calls them names.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
super ungrateful.
yeah, but eventually they get some scissors to cut the beard, and the dwarf tells them that they shouldn't have cut the beard and that it will bring them bad luck. So, but yeah, it he frees himself and takes like a bag of gold, I think, with him.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that he gets from sort of at the tree roots.
hmm. Yeah, and then in their second meeting with the dwarf, they're walking in a place with lots of rocks. No, it's they're fishing. The dwarf is fishing for food, and I think the fish is too strong for the dwarf, and I forgot what happens if it gets stuck or
His
something.
beard
But
gets caught up in the fishing line,
yeah,
and the fish
yes.
is like pulling him in.
hmm So they cut the beard again, and then the dwarf gets angry about them cutting the beard a second time. So, but and it walks away with like a bag of pearls.
Yeah,
And
that he
then
got
that,
among the reeds and the rushes or
mm,
something. Again, he took it from like a low place.
mm. Yeah, and then the third time they meet, they're walking in a place with lots of rocks, and there's like a bird flying overhead, and the bird lowers down and tries to capture the dwarf. So
Mm.
then the girls grab onto the dwarf's legs, and they're kind of in a tug of war with the bird. and eventually the bird gives up. And then this time the dwarf is angry at them because during the struggle his coat got torn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he takes a bag of, I think it was diamonds or something, with him this
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I think it says precious gems of,
Hmm. Yeah, so um on
and
their
then
way back, the girls they try to maybe make up for the damage or something, but they go find a dwarf again in his cave. And
I think they just happen upon him. Like he's a little bit away from his cave and he's taken out the
mhm,
stones to like a clearing, a like clean place and just kind of like counting them or something.
mhm. Yeah, so they're surprised by the gems, and then the dwarf is unkind to them again. And this time, like the bear comes out from the forest, and they didn't recognize the bear at first, but then they realize it's the bear friend that had left months ago. And the dwarf tries to is scared of the bear and thinks he'll get eaten. So he offers the girls to the bear.
Yeah.
Um, but the bear just swipes at him with his paw and kills the dwarf.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the bear,
Well, the girls are
um,
running away, have run away
yeah,
because they did not realize who the bear was.
yeah, and then the bear tells them that it's their friend. So, and that um, he reveals himself to be a man that was under a curse by the dwarf to run around as a bear. But by killing the dwarf, he's free of that and he's back to being a human.
Yeah, and he's wearing gold clothes, and he says why, yeah. And the dwarf had stolen all his treasure and then cursed him to be
Mhm.
a beast in the forest running around. Yeah. Okay, so oh sorry, so you haven't finished.
Yeah, so the man turns out to be a prince. So in the end, he marries Snow White, and then Rose Red marries his brother, and the mom goes to live with them happily ever after. And she takes the rose bushes they had outside their house. That was one with red roses and one with white roses.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, one thing that you didn't mention was that in their in their cottage, they have like a lamb and a dove that are there, and both of them are scared also when the bear comes. And it seems only that the mother is not scared when the bear shows up at their door and but calls everybody else, and then everybody is like calm around him and then they're even playful, and then the girls are even playful and rough with him. Yeah, what do you think about that story?
Yeah, like I've never heard of this version of Snow White.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, in this one also, like the father isn't much of a presence in her life. In this one, there
Yeah.
is no father mentioned ever. And there are dwarves, and there is a marriage at the end. But a lot of it's very, very different, you know. Like
Yeah.
she is not royalty at the beginning, she is at the end. Um, there is a lot of money involved, or riches or something like that. Is there riches in the story that we know better? I mean, she is royalty, so there is that.
Mm.
But the riches,
Yeah,
mm,
I don't recall.
yeah. But either way, there is a usurper. I mean, in the first one, there's the evil stepmother who tries to usurp everything, basically, the kingdom and Snow White's, right, sort of as a young, pure woman to sort of marry, reproduce, and whatever, natural right,
Mm.
you know. And in this one, the dwarf has uh usurped the prince's nature and his riches. And the usurper is also magical. Does magic does bad black magic. Is the wicked stepmother killed? No. In the other story, she
Mm,
is just banished. I mean, she is, yeah, she's destroyed. Her life is destroyed, but she's not actually
mm,
killed. In this one, it's funny that he's the dwarf is dispatched so almost um like dismissively. Like
mm,
in the story it says like so first I'll read the end of his pleading with the bear and trying to show how, oh, I'm just a skinny scrawny man, like I wouldn't taste good, but these cherubic, chubby little girls would be much more delicious. You would not feel me between your teeth. Come, take these two wicked girls. They are tender morsels for you, fat as young quails. For mercy's sake, eat them. The bear took no heed of his words, but gave the wicked creature a single blow with his paw, and he did not move again. And that's the end for him. But it's just, yeah, it's almost dismissively like, dead. I'm
mm,
done with you. But yeah, I guess that's the thing. I mean, we have the opposites of like Snow White. Uh, she is humble, she's kind. She with her sister uh, uh, help this utterly ungrateful, mean-spirited person 3 times and with no expectation. And, you know, so basically deserving, like a person who's really deserving. I mean, you and I have talked how Snow White is like a reflection of the Virgin Mary, maybe something like that, with her pure, that's sort of her snow white skin or whatever her name uh implies the purity of her soul, just like
mm,
according to, I guess, the Roman Catholic Church, immaculately conceived Virgin Mary. But whether you believe that or not, I mean, she's like the image of pure motherly femininity in Western culture. And Snow White is that too. And Snow White is among jackals, being oppressed by a usurper, a greedy usurper, and but ends up coming out on the top, ends up with wealth and position and home and happiness, whereas the usurper ends up with nothing. Yeah. Any other thoughts about this?
mm. No, I'm just wondering what the purpose of Rose Red was, or
Right,
what is she
yeah.
supposed to represent?
Right, exactly. Yeah,
It,
that's one difference with this story and the other one. White and red roses. I wonder if there's some specific historical thing or
yeah,
maybe something about some elemental thing like blood and spirit or something like that.
yeah. Like I was just thinking how like maybe Snow White, she's like the example of like femininity, like inside the house and stuff, and Snow Rose Red, she's kind of like the naturey part of femininity, like being out of the outdoors,
Mm. Yeah,
things like
more
that.
like an Athena or something like that, or a vixen, or I don't know. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
red, white, purity, red is maybe uh something more sensual. Anyway,
Mm,
she's wilder. She
mm,
likes being outside. And yeah, red, the color of blood. You think of Little Red Riding Hood, who
yeah.
maybe there's some sorts of like sensual overtones in the wolf story. And
Yeah.
in this
And
story too, there is a ferocious beast, although it turns out not to be uh malicious in any way.
Yeah. And I thought like Rose Red seems more active with just the outside in general because she's the one that opens the door to the bear first
Oh,
or
right, yeah.
interacts with the bear.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although she runs away screaming from it too, I think.
Yeah.
And Rose Red is the first one who addresses the dwarf when they first see him. And he's also red. I mean, his eyes. He glared at the girls with his fiery red eyes and cried, "Why do you stand there?" And then Rose Red says, "What are you doing there, little man?" And then he calls her a stupid prying goose. How dare you address me? And I don't care if you save me. But yeah, it's like they're mirror images of each other. They both get married. They both have their, yeah, why the need for the two characters? It's almost like they're just personifications of different sides of the same character. It's like
Mhm.
the old woman has like one daughter, but just these are like two aspects of her or something. Even the trees grow side or the rose bushes grow side by side. Or they're rose trees. Rose trees grow side by side and, yeah, and they get married to like the prince and his brother, it's like they're almost like the same person. They're almost like twins. Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know why that is. I can't think of a parallel with other stories with that,
Yeah.
but that's a very interesting observation. But yeah, the dwarf. Dwarves are not good in this story. In the other story, maybe the other story is more comprehensive in that she goes into the woods and she kind of tames the dwarves. I mean, because I think the dwarves are a little bit savage, right? They're sort of like woodsmen. There's sort of half savage, but she kind of domesticates them, and makes them have a home where they before they had a place to live, but it did not have the feminine touch and a woman's touch and all that stuff. Okay. Well, any last thoughts on this one?
Mm. So far.
Yeah, but yeah, you pointed out, yeah, why the necessity for rose red. I feel like that is there's some secret to that, and I haven't seen a story like that, and I'd like to think more about that in the future.
Yeah, no, actually, like in the other Snow White, like they already describe her as like skin white as snow, lips red as blood. So it's kind of like already kind of both of them
Yeah,
in there, like you're
yeah,
talking about. Yeah,
that's
but
right.
they kind of separated those elements.
Right, yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good point. Yeah. Although I don't know how original the blood
yeah,
red lips are. I don't know if that's Jonathan Pajot's like interpretation or
yeah.
not, but yeah, that's interesting. In also I might point out that in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or the wicked witch or whatever, uh she is like kind of of marriageable age or close to marriageable age, whereas in this story, Snow White and Rose Red, I thought they were very young. Like they talked about them as like being very young, but then again, no, they actually marry the prince afterwards. So yeah, hopefully they're not like 7 years old. Okay. But yeah, anyway, it's interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, look forward to next week's story. Okay, we'll take care.